Chapter 1808. What does that have to do with your fart? Chu Yang was both angry and amused. This is from P. This bastard really knew how to change the concept. It was clear that his cultivation had clashed with the yin energy on the soul-suppressing stone, causing this inexplicable thing to happen. He actually blamed it on a fart. Your fart has such great power. Who do you think you are? Thunder continued to roar, lightning continued to strike. That cold energy rose more and more from the ground, actually pushing against the flow, breaking through the clouds. The clouds rose up in an instant, rearranging the ceiling area. From higher up in the sky, even more terrifying lightning bolts fell down as if they didn't care about their lives. The earth was shaking. The mountains and rivers were trembling. Everyone was trembling. This was no longer something that could be done in a short period of time. An inexplicable fiendish aura spread out in an instant. At this moment, it was still in the vicinity of the infinite boundless mountains. At the next moment, it had already spread out for thousands of kilometers, and was even continuing to spread rapidly. In the sky, someone was looking over from afar, his face heavy and indescribable excitement. Fiendish aura, yin spirit aura. Heavenly punishment thunder. Could it be that the soul-suppressing stone has broken? This place is actually a dilapidated realm of the divine source. It's actually the ruins of an ancient super sect that was destroyed. This person sucked in a breath of cold air, but his expression was already one of uncontrollable excitement. This is a heaven-sent opportunity. This is a great opportunity that must be reported to the sect immediately. If we can take over this ruins, it will bring unimaginable benefits to the sect. With a swoosh, this person turned and left. The speed at which he left. It was 3 times faster than the speed at which he came, more than 3 times. Extremely far away. In all directions, on some mountain peaks that were surrounded by spiritual fog all year round, there were those secluded non-worldly people. All of them turned their gazes over. All the mysterious places that could be surrounded by 5-colored spiritual fog were all places where those legendary super sects were located. Most of these people were focused on cultivation, not caring about worldly affairs at all. Other than sending their disciples out to train every once in a while, and managing their businesses in the secular world, providing the sect with endless cultivation resources and daily necessities. They were basically existences beyond the mortal world. And any one of these sects was a giant that could shake the world. Just like some humorous sayings, although I'm not in Jianghu has its own legends. But this time, almost all of these super existences who rarely meddled in the affairs of the mortal world were alarmed. These people were especially sensitive to changes in spiritual qi. Countless ancestors and old monsters walked out of their secluded places and looked at the coldness and brutality in the sky with furrowed brows. In the blink of an eye, each of them made a decision with a solemn expression. The soul-suppressing stone is broken. The evil spirits came out, forged by the lightning of heavenly punishment. That place must have been the realm of divine source. It's the location of a certain ancient super sect. Since there's a soul-suppressing stone, it means that there are ruins there. Furthermore, it had never been damaged. It is currently ownerless. This is a grand occasion for all the sect. But it could also be a great calamity for all the sects in the world. However, this tribulation cannot be avoided. It was unavoidable. I don't mean to hurt anyone. But people might not mean me no harm. The sects have had enemies everywhere for thousands of years. If any of them benefits from it, our sect will be in danger. We must eliminate the danger in the germinal land. The best way to solve this problem was to claim the ruins as his own. In this way, our sect's strength will increase greatly. We must go. We must go. Not only must we go, but we must also send expert. The strongest experts, and the number of people must not be small. We must do our best to obtain the greatest benefit. These people were all old fellows. With just a glance, they could tell that something was amiss. And they quickly made a decision. This was also the saying that people in Jianghu had no choice. Some sects that were indifferent to fame and fortune had no choice but to enter the world to deal with this earth-shattering matter in order to protect themselves. Knowing that there were tigers in the mountain, they still went to the Tiger Mountain. Whether they were willing or not, they had to come. Following that, the mountain gates opened one by one, and the sound of bells slowly resounded through the thousands of mountains and valleys. Countless warriors in simple and unadorned clothes slowly walked out of the halls. When the bell rang, all the disciples of the sects gathered in the large square. The sect. It had been hundreds and thousands of years since such a gathering bell had rung. Somewhere in the east, a shattered soul-suppressing stone has been discovered. This is a great opportunity, but also a great danger. It is a matter of opportunity and danger coexisting. Our sect has closed the mountain gates for 500 years. In these 500 years, the Jianghu has produced many capable people, but we have not replenished new blood for a long time. This time, we also need to recruit people while we are out. If we find a talented youth, we can take him into the sect and make him a disciple of the inner sect to nurture the sect's future. This time, the matter is not a small matter. All the disciples who go out, your safety is the most important thing. We have specially selected 3 elders of the sect, 3 inner sect elders, 3 elders of the Dragon Hall, 1 first-generation disciple, 30 second-generation disciples, and 100 third-generation disciples. We will go out together. As for the leader, we will have to trouble you, Sky Ascension Pavilion Grand Elder. This was the location of the second largest sect in the Eastern Royal Heaven, the Lingxiao sect. The person who spoke was the sect master of the Lingxiao sect, Kuang Shuquan. And the Sky Ascension Pavilion was where the most respected elders of the Lingxiao sect were. The Grand Elder was, without a doubt, the most respected person in the Lingxiao sect. He was also the most experienced person in the Jianghu. With such an expert leading the team, they still had to select 3 elders of the sect to protect the sect, 3 inner sect elders to manage the disciples' cultivation, and 3 elders of the Dragon Hall to go out on special missions. It could be seen how much importance the Lingxiao sect placed on this mission. It had already reached an unprecedented level. Even the disciples of the first, second, and third generation were only selected. As for the disciples of the 4th generation and below, no one was selected at all. In other words, among the people who went out, the lowest cultivation was at least at the high level of the heaven stage. As for the highest, it was really hard to say. With such a high level of strength, as long as they didn't meet any other large sects of the same status, and didn't provoke the Eastern Royal Heaven's official forces, they would definitely be able to sweep through the entire Jianghu and deal with almost all difficulty. The Grand Elder had a white beard and white hair. His face was solemn as he stepped forward to receive the token. He said in a low voice, recruiting new disciples. This old man doesn't dare to make any guarantees, but I will definitely do my best to bring these disciples back safely. Thank you, Grand Elder, Kuang Shuquan said solemnly. It wasn't just the Lingxiao sect. The other super sects, hidden sects, large sects, small sects, without exception, all sent people out one after another. Even some of the overlords of the Jianghu on the surface were riding their horses and brandishing their whips, and it wasn't just the Eastern Royal Heaven, even the other heavens and earth were alarmed by the dense baleful aura. Countless large sects began to move. Towards the Eastern Royal Heaven and Purple Cloud City, they flew towards the Eastern Royal Heaven. This concerned the big picture, so they had to be cautious. The 8 storms gathered in the Eastern Royal Heaven. Eastern Royal Heaven. Eastern Royal Palace. The Prime Minister's face was solemn. Great General Lan, immediately send out your capable men and personally monitor the area within 30,000 miles of Purple Cloud City. Don't give any orders, don't act without permission. What did the Lord say? A purple-faced man stepped forward and asked. This was Lord Lan, who was currently in charge of the mobilization of all the troops in the Eastern Royal Heaven. He was the commander of the entire Eastern Royal Heaven. He was definitely a person of high status and authority. Normally, he was on the same level as the Prime Minister. Now that he saw the Prime Minister giving orders directly, he instantly felt a little unbalanced. This old thing is ordering me around. Although you look old, we're about the same age. What right do you have to order me around? The Lord is currently not in the Eastern Royal Palace. The Prime Minister glanced at Lord Lan and said sternly, The Lord had already left the Eastern Royal Palace when the incident happened. I'm sure he's already at the scene of the incident. I believe everyone is aware of the seriousness of this incident, right? Everyone was speechless. Even the Lord is personally making a move this time. This is not normal. Isn't it just a broken soul-suppressing stone? It's not like this hasn't happened before. The Lord didn't even raise his eyebrows. Why is he in such a hurry to go personally this time? Lord Lan, do you have any other opinions? The Prime Minister looked at Lord Lan and asked mischievously. No opinion. Lord Lan's purple face turned even more purple. The Lord is already there. How can I have any opinion? You old thing, aren't you trying to frame me? If I didn't need to guard the Eastern Royal Palace to be safe, I would also go this time. A trace of worry flashed across the Prime Minister's old face. He said, this time, the Chief Guard of the Eastern Royal Palace is leading a team to assist. Everyone, no one is allowed to act rashly. Anyone who disobeys will be killed without mercy. Their entire clan will be exterminated. If the sects below fight until blood flows like a river and can't be stopped. Are we not going to do anything? It was still that purple-faced Lord Lan. This time, he wasn't just making a fuss. He was asking a real question. Even if they are really beaten to a pulp. As long as there's no order. The Prime Minister suddenly got angry. You can only watch. You can only smell. You can only listen. You can only wait. Even if your own son is chopped into pieces down there, if you make a move without permission, you will only end up with the extermination of your whole family. Lan Tianqiao, do you understand? Do you have any other questions? The purple-faced Lan Tianqiao's forehead was covered with sweat. He swallowed his anger and said, I understand. Thank you for your advice, Prime Minister. Then, Lord Lan asked a few more questions. Chapter 1809. These questions were not meant to go against the Prime Minister, but were sincere. He had no choice but to ask, he did not dare to not ask. The situation in front of him had already exceeded everyone's expectations. Furthermore, the biggest problem now was, since you set the rules so strictly, I have to get to the bottom of it. Otherwise, how am I supposed to control my soldiers? As long as I get to the bottom of it, it's fine to eat a beating. If something goes wrong, it'll be game over. Eating a beating is better than being game over, isn't it? By the time Lan Tianqiao finished his questions, the Prime Minister had already sprayed saliva all over his face. The Prime Minister had worked with him for many years, but he had never had the upper hand like this before. He was in a good mood. Are you done asking? I'm done asking. Now that he was done asking the question, Lord Lan's tone wasn't as polite as before. He directly changed his attitude from a subordinate to an elder. The speed at which he changed his attitude was extremely fast. As expected of the commander of the Eastern Royal Immortal Realms. Since you're done asking, hurry up and scram with your men. The Prime Minister waved his sleeves. Set off immediately. Then, he disappeared with a su sound. Great General Lan, who was about to curse out loud, swallowed his words back into his stomach. Set off. Great General Lan's purple face turned black. With a wave of his hand, he left in a huff. Little did he know that the Prime Minister, who had just left, was no longer as comfortable as before. He had a heavy expression on his face as he muttered to himself, that fellow is indeed restless after coming up. It's only been a few days and has already caused such a huge commotion. Since the Lord rushed over personally, this matter must have been caused by that fellow, only he would be able to receive such special treatment from the Lord. Sigh, that fellow is really too good at causing trouble. It's only been a few days and is already causing the soul-suppressing stone to shatter. He even managed to encounter such a rare thing. He even managed to destroy it. How could he do that with his trash cultivation? He's really a troublemaker. Why did the Lord send him to the Eastern Royal Heavens in the first place? Couldn't he have sent him to other realms to cause trouble and bring disaster to other powers? Now, look at him. He's wasting energy and carrying a spear. What kind of plaything is this? Sigh, with a long, heartfelt sigh, the Prime Minister finally disappeared without a trace. The lightning bolts became more and more concentrated. It seemed as if it didn't stop pouring out. Chu Yang and Brother Tiger witnessed the power of the heavens and earth. They were completely stunned and dumbfounded. He was tongue-tied. Chu Yang became more and more aware that he might have caused a very big trouble this time. Looking at this situation, his original intention would definitely be achieved. All the sects in the world would definitely be like sharks that smelled the scent of blood. They swarmed over. Moreover, the scope of this incident wouldn't just be limited to the Eastern Royal Heaven. He believed that all the great sects in the Heaven Imperial Court would have a big gathering because of this. His plan had succeeded. However, who would clean up this mess in the end? How to deal with it? His intention was only to provoke a few sects. Who would have thought that things would turn out this way? Fisherman's profit. Fucking fisherman's advantage. Not to mention those great sects that hadn't arrived yet. Just those few people from the Hua clan were enough to make a certain king of hell's heart turn cold. Any one of those people was stronger than Chu Yang at his current stage. One or two of them were even heaven stage experts. Their strength was at least on par with that of Shifu. Such a person had been reduced to nothingness by the cold aura as soon as he came into contact with it. Was such a terrifying thing something that he could use? Even such a terrifying lightning tribulation couldn't destroy it. What did he rely on to dare to take advantage of that fisherman's advantage? Chu Yang was a little depressed. Once again, he felt the grievance of not having enough strength. He was asking for trouble. At this moment, he suddenly sensed something. For a moment, he couldn't help but feel his soul leaving his body. He turned his head like a whirlwind and saw a man in a white robe standing 3 feet away from him with a smile on his face. Seeing that he turned his head to look at him, he actually nodded with a smile of reunion after a long separation. His voice was gentle and pleasant. Long time no see. This person's voice wasn't loud. But the moment he opened his mouth to speak, the wind, thunder and lightning that filled the sky seemed to disappear the moment he spoke. Instantly, the sky was clear and bright again. Dawn reappeared on the horizon, just like the clearest afternoon. The clouds were light and the wind was clear. It was peaceful. But in reality, the violent thunder and lightning were still going on, and the momentum was getting more and more intense. But in the small circle where Chu Yang and this white-robed man were, it was quiet. So it's you. Chu Yang let out a deep breath. Since it's him, it's not surprising that he could approach me so quietly. If the current ruler of the Eastern Royal Heavens didn't even have this little ability, then the Eastern Royal Heavens would have been destroyed by the enemy long ago. This person was of course the current ruler of the Eastern Royal Heavens, Shui Leihan, the highest ruler of this world. His Majesty the Eastern Royal Heavens. To be honest, Chu Yang didn't expect to see him again so soon. He had originally thought that Shui Leihan would only come out to meet him when he had at least reached the saint level or the heavenly being level. Even when he had reached the peak, Shui Leihan might not even meet him. But he didn't expect to see him here. It was really an unexpected reunion. Why are you here? Chu Yang asked curiously. Are you so free? Does His Majesty not have any official business to deal with? Shui Leihan stared at him and shook his head with a smile. I've never been free. No matter how I deal with official business, there's no end to it. But right now, I'm indeed here especially for you. For me. Do I have such a big reputation? Chu Yang pointed at his own nose and asked in a very unconfident manner. Chu Yang couldn't be blamed for this. In the heavens, Chu Yang might be a pioneer of a new era, a person who created myths and wrote legends. But in the heavens, he was nothing. At most, he was just a slightly stronger ant. At least in the eyes of the Eastern Royal Heavens Master, His Majesty the Eastern Royal Heavens. It was one thing to have a relationship, but the difference in strength between the two sides was still real. You're so young, but you really know how to cause trouble. Shui Leihan sighed softly. How many days have you been up here? He actually caused such a huge commotion. He pointed at the chilly fiendish aura that was still surging outwards. Chu Yang said somewhat sadly, do you think I want to? How would I know that something like this would happen? He was blasted out with a fart. Blasted out with a fart. Even with Shui Leihan's composure, he still couldn't help but exclaim upon hearing this. He couldn't help but choke on the wind. Chu Yang rubbed his buttocks and grimaced as he nodded. This meant that it was indeed caused by his fart. Shui Leihan was speechless. For a moment, he didn't know what to say. At this moment, Chu Yang naturally wouldn't betray Brother Hu. Shui Leihan would definitely clean up the mess for him since it was caused by him. Chu Yang was still confident about this. But if he were to say that Brother Hu did it, Shui Leihan would probably skin Brother Hu alive on the spot. This was definitely a possibility. I can't help but say, you are indeed gifted. This kind of luck is really beyond the reach of ordinary people. Shui Leihan patted him on the shoulder. His tone was obviously a little emotional. Chu Yang couldn't help but laugh. So be it. Since you're here, I'll definitely have to rely on you to solve this mess. Do you have other intentions for causing such a huge commotion? Shui Leihan looked at him inquiringly. Yes, I do. Since that's the case, I don't care anymore. I believe you already have a detailed plan and the means to carry it out. Do it to your heart's content. Shui Leihan chuckled. Every time he was with Chu Yang, Shui Leihan could feel exceptionally relaxed and refreshed from the bottom of his heart. There was also a kind of relaxed joy in his mind. Even Shui Leihan himself was puzzled by this situation. He was in the Heavenly Imperial Court. He was the number one person below the Saint Monarch level. He controlled the entire Heavenly Imperial Court, the Eastern Royal Heaven, which was the most vast. In this world, he was the highest ruler. It could be said that he looked down on the universe and had no reservations. However, he had become friends with Chu Yang when he was at his weakest. One was just an ant-like person struggling to survive in the lowest level, while the other was a super-existence of the highest level, the most powerful deities. The two of them were actually friends, and close friends at that. If this matter were to be spread out, even the Saint Monarchs would be shocked. But this just had to be the truth. It was an extremely absurd fact. Sometimes, even Shui Leihan himself found it unbelievable when he thought about it. Chu Yang certainly met the harsh requirements of the Tribulation Sword. But Shui Leihan didn't have to have such close connections with Chu Yang at all. As long as he found the successor of the Tribulation Sword, Shui Leihan could be considered to have completed the task entrusted to him by that mighty person. But for some reason, they just had to take a liking to each other and become friends. They hit it off at first sight. So, there were some things that Shui Leihan could have arranged for a few trusted subordinates to do, but he still chose to come personally. For example, this time, Shui Leihan really cherished the chance to relax like this. How many friends could an ordinary person in a high position, such as Shui Leihan, have? Generally speaking, there really wasn't a single one. A person in a high position couldn't have friends. Loneliness and solitude was the kind of feeling a person in a high position should have. Shui Leihan was very satisfied. Compared to the other emperors, he was really much more fortunate. In the entire Heavenly Imperial Court, it seemed that only Chu Yang would speak to him in such a disrespectful manner. But he just felt comfortable listening to it. Strange. I still have to finish the updates before midnight. Sigh, there's still more than an hour left in this month. Chapter 1810. What did you say? You don't care. You don't care how I clean up this mess. Chu Yang jumped up instantly. Baidu search PCOM, what are you saying? Why can't you clean it up? Didn't you do this because you have a plan and a way to carry it out? Is there something wrong with my understanding? Shui Leihan looked at him strangely. You have to know that if I really do it, the moment I do, the matter will be resolved. However, this realm of the God Source will also be completely destroyed in the next moment. In other words, no matter what plan you have, it will be completely for naught. Then what should I do? Chu Yang frowned. This was really troublesome. But what could he do? Those involved can't see clearly. Don't you have the Calamity Sword? Shui Leihan smiled faintly. He said with a smile, you already have such a heaven-defying item. Why are you still asking me? Calamity Sword? Chu Yang's eyes widened. The Calamity Sword has such an ability. You're not joking? Joking? I really don't have the time and energy for that. As for the ability of the Calamity Sword, Shui Leihan smiled lightly. It's definitely something you can't even dream of. Even I, when faced with this sword, I also have to. Shui Leihan didn't finish this sentence. He just suddenly changed the topic. Fine, since I'm here, I'll help you again. If the thunder of heavenly punishment is used to deal with it, it will be destroyed in the end. What a blind thing. Chuyong rolled his eyes. This guy isn't scolding me, is he? Or is he scolding that guy who controls the thunder of heavenly punishment? But from his tone, it doesn't seem like he's scolding me. Me. Since you want to stir up trouble, I'll help you again. Shui Leihan said indifferently, release the sword intent of the Calamity Sword. The sword intent of the Calamity Sword. Ever since he obtained the sword intent of the Calamity Sword, Chuyong really hadn't used it much. It felt like he had obtained something but had no place to use it. Hearing this, he immediately waved his hand. A sword aura whizzed out. Shui Leihan drew a circle with his right hand and shouted, "Go!" All of a sudden, the sword aura shone brightly and soared into the sky like a divine dragon. Then, a loud and clear sword cry rang out. The dark night sky suddenly shone with a dazzling brilliance, illuminating the entire universe and illuminating the entire universe. At this moment, the night had completely turned into day. A magnificent sword light that spanned thousands of miles appeared in the sky. Then, it cut through the dark clouds, forming a bridge of light that seemed to connect the heavens and the earth, and rushed down. In the air, it was clear that someone's teeth were chattering. Fuck, if that terrifying sword chi had landed on my body. She heard a dignified voice in her ear, I know it's not good. Get lost. Hearing the infinitely dignified and infinitely familiar voice, the cloud man trembled all over. He didn't even dare to say another word. He hurriedly waved his hand, and the dark clouds in the sky instantly disappeared without a trace as if they had pissed their pants, after walking for tens of thousands of miles. Just as he was about to heave a sigh of relief, the voice chased after him again, my whereabouts must not be revealed. If you disobey, you will be executed. If there were any doubts, you might as well try it. Just as that person was about to heave a sigh of relief, he heard this voice. Suddenly, his whole body trembled, and he fell down from the dizziness. He directly fell to the ground in a daze. His nose was bruised and his face was swollen. His subordinates hurriedly helped him up and asked with concern, "Sir, what's wrong? What's wrong with you? Why are you like this?" It was really strange. The sir in charge of the wind, cloud, thunder, and lightning actually fell from the clouds, and his head was bleeding so badly. This was really seeing a ghost. That sir climbed up from the ground in a sorry state. He didn't even bother to wipe off the blood on his face, and hurriedly explained to erase everyone's doubts, I was just training my body. Yes, I have to fall a few more times every day. It's good for my physical and mental health. Look, I'll fall again, bang. 1 2 3 4, 2 2 3 4, 3 2 3 4, fall again. This sir pitifully fell from the clouds again and again. His subordinates were so shocked that their eyeballs almost popped out. Facing such a situation, his subordinates indeed didn't have any doubts. They all had a new idea. It's over. Our sir is crazy. Let's not talk about this side's reaction, it wasn't the main point. That sword light smashed down with a loud bang, right into the cave entrance that was constantly emitting cold yin energy. At that moment, it was really as if 1,000 miles of river was suddenly cut in half. The cold yin energy and demonic aura that was originally gushing out in all directions suddenly lost its source, and the demonic aura that was overflowing outside was also rapidly dissipating. At the entrance of the cave, there was a long sword that was as bright as snow. It was filled with the majesty of a sovereign, and it was inserted diagonally into the ground. It was majestic and unmoving. That cold yin energy and demonic aura didn't completely disappear, but could only continue to gush out from the two sides of the sword. Although it wasn't completely cut off, it didn't have that kind of crazy surge. At least the demonic aura that was emitted now would gradually dissipate into the wind when the sunlight just came out, and couldn't cause any harm anymore. Now, with the sword intent blocking the entrance, the cold yin energy can only dissipate slowly. And at this speed, it will also dissipate completely after 10 days to half a month. And at this level, as long as it comes into contact with the sun's yang energy, it will be completely dissolved and won't cause any harm to the human world, Shui Leihan said lightly. Amazing! Chu Yang exclaimed. To be able to control the intensity of the fire so accurately, he was indeed the best in the world. From now on, only you can pull out this sword. Shui Leihan raised his eyebrows. Are you satisfied with my arrangement? Satisfied, 100% satisfied. Chu Yang nodded repeatedly, and then said, well, let the sword spirit have this qualification too. It's not convenient for me to show up for some things. Hee. You insidious guy. Shui Leihan laughed. The moment Chu Yang opened his mouth, he knew what Chu Yang was planning. He couldn't help but smile. He summoned the sword spirit, and after seeing Shui Leihan pointed with his finger. A black gas came out from the sword spirit, and merged with the sword intent on the mountain peak. It's done, Shui Leihan said with his hands behind his back. Thank you. Well, you don't have to be so polite. To be honest, this cold energy is pure death. It's a pity that I can't use it for my cultivation. If some sects that cultivate evil spirits get their hands on it, I'm afraid they'll treat it as a treasure. Shui Leihan said with some pity. Well, pure death energy. Chu Yang's heart skipped a beat. He thought of his own dantian, the yin-yang life and death dantian. Was it that? Chu Yang's eyes turned, and then he said, oh right, what exactly are you doing here? Shui Leihan was stunned and a little dumbfounded. Did this guy still not know who he was doing this for? Why haven't you left yet? Chu Yang's face turned cold as he frowned and asked him to leave. Isn't this matter already done? Shui Leihan pointed at his own nose, somewhat in disbelief. You're chasing me away? He suddenly felt a little confused. The world was really upside down. I, the ruler of the Eastern Royal Heavens, was ordered to leave by someone in the Eastern Royal Heavens. Even in other places, no one would dare to do so. Yes. Chu Yang said matter-of-factly, there's only you and me here. If I don't chase you away, should I chase myself away? Don't tell me there's someone else here. Even if there is. I don't know either. I just helped you, and you're chasing me away. You. Shui Leihan had an impulse to beat the guy in front of him up. With you here, I'll be a hindrance. Chu Yang said righteously, having someone to rely on will be detrimental to my development. So, take care. I won't send you off. Shui Leihan's nose was crooked, and his finger that was pointing at Chu Yang was trembling. You're good. You're really good. You're really good. So small. You've got guts. Of course I've got guts. But I don't have to show it to you, right? Chu Yang laughed, and then he actually glared at him. Why aren't you leaving? Do you want to see if I've got guts? Shui Leihan looked up at the sky. He didn't look at Chu Yang anymore. He was afraid that if he saw his face again, he would give it a hard punch. Yes, right. Luckily, you haven't left. I almost forgot something important. Chu Yang went over and touched Shui Leihan's shoulder with his shoulder. He said, I say. Do you still have that wine? If you do, leave some for me. I've finished all of it. I haven't had enough. Whoosh. Shui Leihan disappeared. A sentence floated down from the sky. Why aren't you dead yet? This sentence was obviously said through gritted teeth, and it definitely came out from the gaps between his teeth. Then, silence returned to the sky. After a long, long time, there was no more movement. Chu Yang heaved a sigh of relief. Looks like he's really gone this time. This guy is too stingy. He can't even bear to leave a pot of wine. Stingy. He turned around, only to see Brother Tiger staring at him with his eyes wide open. His eyes were full of reverence as if he had seen a living immortal. What's wrong? What's wrong with you? Chu Yang waved his hand in front of Brother Tiger. You're my boss. Brother Tiger said in a voice full of admiration. You're really my boss. I'm convinced. I've never admired a third person in my life. You're the second one. I'm convinced. I'm really convinced. You're too awesome. You're really too awesome. I didn't expect you to be so awesome even in my dreams. Chu Yang couldn't stand being slapped by this guy for no reason. What's wrong? Did you take the wrong medicine? Are you crazy? No, no, no. If not, there's no way to describe my admiration for you. Brother Tiger was obviously on the verge of breaking down. That person just now, he's so strong. Throughout my life, only my benefactor can be better than him. There's no one else who can be compared to him. Let's talk about it more vividly. You know my strength, right? When I was at my peak, my strength was at least 10 times more than now, but even if I was at my peak, he could still kill me with one slap. You know his level of strength now. You actually dared to talk to him like that just now, and even dared to chase him away like a fly. No matter if it's because you're ignorant or because you don't know the immensity of heaven and earth, you still did it, and you even succeeded. Oh, my God. You're too awesome. Chapter 18:11. When Shuelehan came just now, Brother Tiger immediately became obedient. He shrunk his body to the size of a mini and stayed in Chu Yang's arms for a long time, not daring to move at all. He only listened attentively to Chu Yang's conversation with him. The more he listened, the more impressed and excited he became. What an awesome person. What an awesome person. There's such an effect. Chu Yang definitely didn't expect that he wouldn't be able to get that kind of good wine that could raise one's cultivation. However, he didn't expect that he would completely subdue Brother Tiger. Could this be considered an unexpected surprise? Although he said things like the ignorant are fearless and the immensity of heaven and earth which were more or less unpleasant to the ears, it was good that he was subdued. Also, Shuelehan was already at such a level, yet Brother whose benefactor was still able to surpass him by a few notches. Just how powerful was that benefactor? Was there really such a powerful person in this world? Not thinking about these, Chu Yang waved his hand and the sword spirit flew directly to the vast mountains. It became one with the sword energy. The sword spirit tried to collect the gurgling black gas, it's really pure death energy. However, this kind of foundation is a little huge, said the sword spirit. Huh? Chu Yang didn't understand. I can only absorb a portion of it when I'm downloading it. I have to send it to your Dantian quickly. Otherwise, I won't be able to bear it, said the sword spirit honestly. That's great. Chu Yang was delighted. This was a pie that fell from the sky. He was just worrying about whether his cultivation speed was fast enough. He didn't expect that there would be so much death energy replenishment right away. I have to go back once every 4 hours. The sword spirit instructed, don't run around. Be ready to accept it at any time. Okay. In the blink of an eye, Shuelehan had already disappeared without a trace. Chu Yang, who had turned around, suddenly remembered an important matter. This matter was not as dispensable as asking for wine. He immediately slapped his thigh. Shit, he was so focused on talking just now that he actually forgot to ask this guy what kind of physique he had, whether it was good or bad, whether there were any drawbacks, and how to avoid them. Forget it, since he's gone, let's go. Chu Yang thought, it's better to rely on myself than on others. I'd better figure it out myself. What I figure out myself is the most suitable for me. Maybe it's better for me to keep it a secret if this guy doesn't know. Bringing Brother Tiger with him, Chu Yang leisurely returned to the Chu clan. On top of the vast mountain. At first glance, the sky was still filled with black gas. But in reality, it was already gradually dissipating. Without the large amount of support from the source of the cave, the baleful aura outside had become a tree without roots. It would only take a few days for it to be completely eliminated by the scorching sun. On top of the mountain, that sword. Light radiated in all directions, illuminating the surroundings. When Chu Yang returned to his room, Yang Rushan was already waiting for him. Where did you go? Yang Rushan's expression was solemn. I just went out for a walk. What else can I do? Chu Yang laughed hollowly, you know it too. I have another identity, which is a gambler. Yang Rushan heaved a sigh of relief and warned him solemnly. During this period of time, be it day or night, try not to go out. Ah, what's wrong? Chu Yang wasn't surprised by Yang Rushan's warning, but he still had to do his part. What's wrong? Something big had happened. It's a big deal. Yang Rushan's eyebrows were tightly knitted. This includes the 5 cities in the vicinity. Within a radius of 17,000 miles, it's going to become the center of attention. With your strength, you shouldn't even get involved, so what? Chu Yang stared at him with an innocent face. His face was full of puzzlement and confusion, and he was waiting for an answer. A soul-suppressing stone appeared here. Sigh. Yang Rushan's eyebrows were tightly knitted as he paced slowly. He explained the origin of the soul-suppressing stone in a low voice. Finally, he looked up and sighed. Why would a soul-suppressing stone appear here? Why would such a rare item appear here? Why would a soul-suppressing stone shatter so easily? This is really puzzling. Chu Yang and brother who looked at each other. Puzzling? No way. Why would it appear? Why would it shatter? Both of them were the clearest about this. Yang Rushan stomped his feet and said, "If I find out who caused this, I'll beat him to death." Chu Yang and brother Tiger stared at each other and signaled with their eyes that they must not reveal anything. They would be beaten to death. Even if they were not beaten to death, they would be beaten half to death. In short, they just had to keep their mouths shut. Anyway, don't go out. Don't go out. Don't go out. After Yang Rushan said this, he leaped up and disappeared. I'll go and take a look. Don't act rashly. Yang Rushan had already disappeared. Chu Yang and brother who slumped down on the bed. Looks like we've really gone too far this time. In the next few days, the entire Xixia city was in a mess. The entire Xixia city, even the ordinary people in the city, could feel the unprecedented frenzy and depression. Everyone seemed to smell the scent of the end of the world. The number of martial artists in the city increased unknowingly. Not only did the number increase, but the quality was even more astonishing. Originally, it was rare to see Earth-grade martial artists, but now, Earth-grade martial artists could be seen everywhere on the streets. Heaven-grade martial artists weren't rare. Occasionally, there would be a few higher-grade martial artists strolling around. Every time they walked on the streets, they would be on full alert, eyeing covetously. If there was a disagreement, there would be a full-scale fight on the streets. Occasionally, there would be a few puddles of blood on the streets after a night. The atmosphere of the entire city was oppressive and dignified. It was like the dead silence before a storm. The city lord was no longer excited because he had recovered from his illness. He was so worried that there were many more white hairs on his head. During this period, countless outsiders entered Xixia City. Slowly, Xixia City, which was originally not very big, became a little crowded because of the population problem. What the fuck was this? Especially the inns in the city, they were basically close to the point of being overcrowded. These weren't the reasons for the city lord's headache. The real headache for the city lord was that the infinite boundless mountain that the Hua clan had just paid for was actually the legendary divine source realm. If the higher-ups knew that he had sold the divine source realm just like that, he wouldn't be able to continue being the city lord anymore. Of course, this wasn't the most serious matter. Because that divine source realm was actually damaged, and the soul-suppressing stone had appeared in it. If they knew that he had sold such a place, and that it had been damaged, it would trigger a terrifying heavenly tribulation. His entire family had basically reached the end of their lifespan, and this wasn't the most serious matter. The truly serious matter was that the people who had destroyed the soul-suppressing stone were simply amateurs among amateurs. If they had destroyed it, then so be it. How could they have left behind such a huge trace, and actually caused the baleful yin qi to shoot up into the sky? That was truly a long-lasting thing. It was precisely because of this that the entire Heaven Palace was shaken. According to the news, not only the Eastern Royal Heavens, even the super sects of the other heavens and earth had started to take action. There was only one target, and that was this place. More than 70% of the large sects, hidden sects, and immortal residences had already started to take action. As for those that weren't recorded, it didn't mean that they weren't taking action. Perhaps, they had already started to take action long ago, just that their methods were more secretive. It was just that no one knew. Facing these people, facing these huge and unstoppable forces, the entire Purple Cloud City could be destroyed with a single thought from them. If Purple Cloud City was gone, his entire family would definitely be wiped out. At this moment, The city lord flew into a rage, as though he had gone mad. His only thought was to quickly find fourth Master Hua. As long as he saw this fellow, he would swallow him alive. This bastard! You have caused my death. You have harmed my entire family, and even my entire clan. However, fourth Master Hua was like a drop of foam that had been completely submerged in the sea, and there was no longer any trace of him to be found. The city lord was so angry that his stomach was about to explode, but he couldn't find any place to vent his anger, another secret location. Fourth Master Hua was also flying into a rage. What's going on? What's going on? Who can tell me? Ah! What the hell is going on? Countless people around him kept quiet out of fear, afraid that they would be scolded if they said a single word. Tell me, why did the soul-suppressing stone shatter without any warning? Who was it that leaked the news? Who did it? Tell me. Fourth Master Hua was seething with anger. His eyes were blood red as he stared at his subordinates. His gaze was as though he wanted to eat them alive. In fourth Master Hua's hands, there was an item that was covered in the marks of time. It seemed to be a map. Right now, it had already been wrinkled by fourth Master Hua. A treasure map. Fourth Master Hua truly wanted to vomit blood. But even if he did, what problem could he solve? Ever since 200 years ago, his family had coincidentally bought this treasure map from an auction in the East Imperial Kingdom. They had mobilized countless manpower and resources to search the entire East Imperial Kingdom for 200 years. An entire 200 years. Even if they didn't count the several 100,000 purple cloud coins that they had spent on the treasure map, just the manpower and resources that they had mobilized in these 200 years had already exceeded 5 million purple cloud coin. Purple cloud coins. They had finally found the location, and even found some clues. Furthermore, they had already paid the money and reached an agreement with the officials, turning the ownership of that place into their own. It hadn't even been 5 days since they had calmed down. How did the entire world know about it? Since things had already developed to such a stage, the Hua family's insignificant strength meant that they wanted to devour this treasure trove. It was simply a pipe dream. There was no possibility at all. Even if they wanted to get a share of the profits, it had become an extravagant hope, a fantasy. Moreover, whether or not they could escape from this super vortex was still unknown. After hundreds of years of hard work and tens of millions of purple cloud coins, for this treasure, the entire family's finances had been completely overdrawn. The family's power had shrunk because of this matter, and they had finally seen a ray of hope, but at the last moment, it had all been given to someone else. When fourth Master Hua thought of this, he finally couldn't help but spit out a mouthful of blood. Could it be any more tragic? What a scam. Chapter 1812. Hua and the others, we still don't know where they are, we don't know if they were harmed or... Another person stammered. Baidu search, I don't care if they die. Fourth Master Hua was enraged. Fourth Master Hua's anger caused everyone to keep quiet out of fear. However, the heartlessness he displayed now made them feel even more disappointed. Hua and the others had always been loyal to the Hua clan and had even gone through fire and water for so many years. However, it was such people who, after going missing, only ended up as I don't care if they die in fourth Master Hua's word. He was actually so heartless. If I also went missing or died, what would fourth Master Hua say? With such a master, if I really died, how would my family be treated? Everyone felt dejected as they forced themselves not to think further. The atmosphere of a fox grieving for the death of a rabbit engulfed the entire place. Now that things have come to this, we can only immediately inform the clan and see if the old ancestor can appear personally. Only with him appearing will we have a chance to obtain the benefits first. Otherwise... Fourth Master Hua waved his hand impatiently. Do it immediately. Yes. One person immediately turned and left. This matter was urgent and had to be reported immediately. Also, this matter was leaked in such a strange manner. Perhaps it was that bastard Donglai who leaked it. It doesn't make sense that we would be exposed right after we told him about buying Infinite Boundless Mountain. This timing is too coincidental. It must be him. Fourth Master Hua's eyes were malicious. Now that the clan is weak, we cannot kill Donglai openly. However, I will definitely make him regret it for the rest of his life. After pondering for a moment, he finally ordered decisively, "The three of you, sneak into the Chu clan tonight and kill that divine Dr. Chu on the spot." Kill divine Dr. Chu? The three Hua clan experts looked at each other. This matter has nothing to do with that Chu Yang at all. At the end of the day, you are just using him. Why do you want to kill him for no reason now? What kind of logic is this? What kind of person are we following? Nonsense. Fourth Master Hua said furiously, "Dong Lai is suffering from an illness that only Chu Yang can treat. It is said that half a year is needed to treat him. Now, only a month has passed. He is definitely not cured yet. Dong Lai revealed our great secret, causing us to fail on the verge of success and our plan to fail. How can we let this go? However, Dong Lai is the city lord of Xixia City and is a member of the government. We have the heart but are powerless to do anything to him. But we can't kill Dong Lai. You still can't kill Chu Yang? As long as I kill Chu Yang, that bastard Dong Lai will be sick for the rest of his life." Fourth Master Hua laughed coldly. The three of them suddenly understood. It turned out that they wanted to kill divine Dr. Chu just to prevent him from treating the city lord. What a ruthless person, what a vicious method. The three of them felt that it was a pity. Even if he couldn't recruit such a godly doctor for his own use, he would still be able to recruit him. He should try to maintain a good relationship with her. After all, who wouldn't get stabbed when they were in the Jianghu? As long as he was stabbed, how could he not seek medical treatment? The existence of divine Dr. Chu was definitely a great blessing for martial artists. Why would he kill such a godly doctor just to treat Dong Lai? That was a little too unreasonable. The three of them couldn't help but hesitate. What? Fourth Master Hua looked at the three of them coldly. You're not willing? This? Fourth Master, please reconsider. Reconsider my ass. Everything was destined to fail. Fourth Master Hua was already close to madness. Do you want to rebel? We don't dare. If you don't dare, then listen to my orders. Tonight, I must see Chu Yang's head. Put it on my table. Fourth Master Hua roared. The three of you, go to the disciplinary hall to receive your punishment after you return home. You know clearly what kind of crime it is to disobey an order before a battle. Yes. The three of them looked at each other helplessly. In a faraway place, on a certain mountain, everyone here was discussing about the appearance of the evil spirit and the shattering of the soul-suppressing stone. This wasn't an ordinary place. It was the headquarters of the notorious wild wolf bandits. These bandits came and went like the wind. Every single one of them was a powerful martial artist. Their whereabouts were also mysterious. Even the government couldn't do anything to them. They had been besieged several times. They had escaped unscathed. But they obviously didn't have the right to ask about or touch the soul-suppressing stone. In the end, they were just bandits. Amidst the hustle and bustle, Mo Tianji, dressed in white, slowly walked into a hall with a gentle smile on his face. A ferocious-looking man stood up. "Military Advisor Mo, please take a seat. Let's discuss." Mo Tianji slowly sat down. "What's the matter?" "Regarding the soul-suppressing stone, should we?" Mo Tianji smiled and said quietly. The burly man on the other side nodded and said, "If that's the case, let's clean up that town first." "Military Advisor Mo, I'll snatch a few women to warm your bed this time." "Ha ha ha." Mo Tianji smiled and nodded. "Tonight, let's get drunk." "Good." The Great Khan laughed wildly, raised his cup and drained it. It was noisy and lively outside. In the hall, other than the maids, there were only 3 people drinking. Gang leader, vice gang leader, military advisor. The 3 of them were clearly drunk. Mo Tianji also seemed to be unrestrained. "Ha ha. Today, all of you are drunk. Only I am not drunk." The 2 men opposite him were drunk. "Nonsense, you're the drunk one. If you're not happy, drink more." Mo Tianji stood up shakily and walked over with a wine bowl. He staggered. "Let's drink. Who's afraid? Come." The 2 of them picked up their wine bowls and gulped it down. At this moment, Mo Tianji suddenly staggered, and arrived in front of the two like a ghost. Then, a cold and bright sword light flew past without any warning. 2 arrows of blood spurted into the air. 2 heads rolled on the ground. The gang leader's head rolled on the ground. He could not believe it and his eyes were full of questions. Why? This was the last thing he wanted to say, the question that he didn't ask. I'm sorry. Because I'm the only one in charge here. Mo Tianji said casually with a calm smile on his face. I'm sharpening my sword in imperial court. How can I be under someone else? Not to mention a scoundrel like you. The 2 bodies fell down with a thud. Mo Tianji moved his body, and the maids around him only had time to let out a scream before they slowly fell down while clutching their throats. After a long time, Mo Tianji was covered in blood. He pushed open the door of the hall and suddenly rang the bell. Everyone gathered around. Facing everyone's questioning eyes, Mo Tianji slowly said, "The gang leader and vice-gang leader have been killed by me. Now, I'm the one in charge here. My words. This is the only order. Anyone who disobeys will die." Everyone was dumbstruck. Since I'm the one in charge here, it can't be called Wild Wolf anymore. From now on, it'll be called Heavenly Armament Pavilion. Mo Tianji smiled and said slowly, together with the blood on his body. That faint smile was as scary as a devil's grin. Heavenly Armament Pavilion needs strict orders. From now on, anyone who disobeys orders will die. Mo Tianji looked around and said with a smile. He waved his hand. A few people suddenly rose from the crowd and cut the people around them in half. Those who were killed were all loyal to the original gang leader. Each of them took care of one person. It was neat and clean. Blood flowed. Blood flashed. The smell of blood swept through the hall. Everyone kept quiet out of fear. No one dared to make the slightest move. Those people stepped forward and knelt down. Long live Heavenly Armament Pavilion. We are willing to sacrifice our lives for the pavilion leader. Let's create a glorious future together. Mo Tianji smiled. He looked at the white clouds in the distance and muttered, Heavenly Armament Pavilion. It will sweep through the entire Heaven Imperial Court. Today's legend will begin. At another place. At a junction, Dong Wushong held his dark saber and slashed like a demon. He forced the group in front of him. Are you going to hand it over? Are you going to submit? Are you going to kneel? Are you going to listen? As long as you listen to me, Second Master Dong promises you a good life in the future. Do you understand? If you understand, then say something. Are you going to hand it over? Are you going to submit? Are you going to kneel? Are you going to listen? From now on, we'll be called Heavenly Armament Pavilion. Dong Wushong shouted, What is Heavenly Armament Pavilion? Heavenly soldiers and generals. We'll rob the entire Heaven Imperial Court. Behave yourselves. At another place. Where can I find a soulmate? The tip of Jiu Duxing's floating sword slashed across the throat of an enemy in front of him. Blood splattered everywhere as he landed. He faced the remaining people, surrender or die. Surrender and join the Heavenly Armament Pavilion. You'll be my people. Those who don't surrender will die. At another place. Ao Xieyun transformed into a golden dragon and went on a rampage. His huge body was a divine dragon that could only appear in myths and legends. It was especially shocking. Are you willing to surrender? Join the Heavenly Armament Pavilion? I, Ao Xieyun, will lead you to roam the world. A golden-winged phoenix flew all over the sky, leaving behind streaks of incomparably dazzling traces in the air. Finally, it landed on a mountain. Little ones, this is what I stole this time. Everyone, hurry up and cultivate. If anyone can't keep up with the progress, I'll skin him. Our Heavenly Armament Pavilion and Thief Hall must be at the forefront. We can't fall behind others. I, Rui Butong, can't afford to lose face. Everyone, remember, I'm the person with the highest cultivation in the Heavenly Armament Pavilion other than the Pavilion Master. I was, am, and will be. So, my subordinates must be the same. My subordinates don't need to be very strong. They must be the strongest. At another place. Great Demon King Tan Tan sat high up on his throne. He looked at the group of people who were crawling and trembling in front of him and scolded angrily, "You bunch of trash. Are you all shocked by my handsomeness? Why aren't you speaking? I didn't establish the Heavenly Armament Pavilion to raise trash like you. If I don't see the results tomorrow, I'll cut off your heads automatically and throw them into the cesspool." Soul-suppressing stone? What does that soul-suppressing stone have to do with us? Our task now is to earn money, earn the most money and increase our strength, expand our influence. Do you understand? If you don't, come and let me chop you. If you understand, then scram, go to work. Fuck. Everyone retreated. One by one, they ran all over the place to do their work. Chapter 18:13. On the other side. Gmo slapped a man in front of him and sent him flying. Bastard, we, the Heavenly Armament Pavilion, never kidnap women. You actually did things behind my back and ruined my reputation, making me unable to raise my head in front of my brothers. Dog aunt. Fuck. I'll give you 3 days to marry her, get your father-in-law's approval, and immediately consummate your marriage. Otherwise, I'll make sure you can't touch a woman for the rest of your life. If something like this happens again in the future, there's no need to say anything else, just kill him. Do you hear me? You're really rebelling. Dog aunt. Fuck your dog aunt. All of you, get ready to fight. Hurry up and do your work. What are you waiting for? Hey, I asked you to spy on that rich man Jong. How are you doing? Dog aunt. You useless piece of trash. If you can't do this before this afternoon, I'll dry you up and hang you on the flagpole to dry. Br get lost. At another intersection. Many people were carrying goods and were walking on the mountainous and dense forest road in Ongwa. There were flags of the government on top. No matter what, these were all government goods. In the eastern royal heavens, no one dared to rob government goods. So everyone was relieved. All of a sudden. A woo tilde tilde, a woo tilde tilde, a wolf howl resounded in the air. Then, countless wolves howled in response. A woo tilde tilde, a woo tilde tilde. Don't be too surprised, it was definitely not a gathering of 10,000 wolves. Because as long as one paid attention, one would be able to sense that many people were just stretching their necks and howling like wolves. Then, a rascal swaggered out of the forest in front of them. He stood in the middle of the road, looking at the sky and leaning his sword on the ground. Awoo! This mountain was opened by me, and this tree was planted by me. If you want to pass, pay the toll. Awoo! The wolves howled together again. Awoo! A guy howled. Suddenly, he came to his senses. A young man approached him and said, "Boss, this is government goods. You can't rob it, or you'll be in big trouble." Fuck. What government goods? When have we, the wolves of the Heavenly Armament Pavilion, been afraid of anyone? This guy was of course Luo Kudi. He shook his head and said, "Rob it. We've robbed too many government goods." What? What can you do to me? If you piss me off, I'll steal your goods in the future. Go. After snatching this batch, he would quickly go to the next location to snatch the medicinal herbs. How could he cultivate without a solid foundation? How could he improve without medicine? Awu tilde tilde tilde, let's charge. Awu tilde tilde. Second Master Luo snatched this batch of official goods without a care. However, he had also poked a hornet's nest. Thus, Second Master Luo led his pack of wolves into a life of wandering about and being besieged on all sides. Well, this is a story for another time, so let's not talk about it for now. In another place. Brilliant and colorful flower petals spun beautifully in the air. She was filled with dreamy beauty. However, every time that beautiful flower turned, every time it fluttered, it would bring about a bleak bloody light, taking away a fresh life. Viburnum flowers. Her beauty was unparalleled. Desolate beyond the world. Xiedan Qiong's hands danced in the air, and countless viburnum flowers bloomed in the air. Quick! This is the first time since the establishment of our Heavenly Armament Pavilion. Your hands and feet must be clean, Xiedan Qiong ordered loudly. My name is Xiedan Qiong, the helmsman of the Heavenly Armament Pavilion. Xiedan Qiong's handsome face had a valiance that was not there when he was at the heavenly layer. As the saying goes, every wrong has its perpetrator and every debt has its debtor. If you are not convinced, our heavenly armament pavilion will await your revenge at any time. Let's go. The group of people quickly disappeared into the depths of the forest with their spoils. No one knew where they went. On the other side, facing countless scoundrels, a lecherous smile appeared on their faces. A little girl as beautiful as a pearl cowered in fear. Her face was full of fear. You. Don't come over. I've drawn this line. Don't come over. It's best not to come over. If you come over, you will die. Was the little girl begging for mercy or crying? But no matter what, it would not work on this bunch of lustful guys in front of her. Hee hee. Little beauty, big brother is here. What's there to be afraid of? If I die under a peony flower, I will still be a romantic ghost. I am a lecher to begin with. Big brother lecher is here. Little beauty, big brother will dote on you. A bunch of hooligans rushed over with drooling faces, fighting to be the first. Just as they crossed the line, someone suddenly screamed. What's going on? Another person covered his eyes. My eyes, why can't I see? My legs don't feel anything. There were even people who fell down for no reason and could not get up again. Dozens of people, without exception, all had strange symptoms. Although their symptoms were different, none of them were unscathed. Opposite them, the little girl as beautiful as a pearl giggled. I sincerely advised you not to come over previously, but you insisted on coming over. I can't do anything about it. It's not my fault that something happened to you. Hehe, do you think I, the great miss of heavenly poison, am so easy to bully? I don't even need to lift a finger to deal with you. This little girl was, of course, Chula. Everyone was rolling on the ground, begging and cursing. Chula turned a deaf ear to them and looked on coldly with a smile. After a while, after confirming that everyone had lost the ability to resist, Chula walked over leisurely and plundered all the wealth from everyone, throwing it into her spatial ring. Pooey, what a bunch of paupers. You don't have anything good, I'm really disappointed. How dare you chase a beauty when you don't have money, how degrading. Great Miss Chu was obviously very dissatisfied with her gains this time. I get angry when I'm disappointed. So, all of you can go to hell. With a wave of her hand, she left gracefully. A cloud of black fog appeared out of thin air and quickly infected those people. Shrill screams immediately rang out. Before long, a pool of blood appeared on the ground and slowly seeped into the soil. As for those burly men, it was as if they had evaporated into thin air, completely disappearing without a trace. The onlookers who were afraid of getting into trouble or those who had evil intentions but didn't have the guts to do it saw this scene and broke out in cold sweat. Who was the great miss of heavenly poison? She was a reaper, and so, the name of the great miss of heavenly poison spread like wildfire. In another place, Wu Jueqing strolled on the road. In the dense forest behind him, corpses were strewn everywhere. I have to raise my strength as much as possible in the shortest time possible. Otherwise, how can I face my brothers? Wu Jueqing muttered to himself. If I want to have strength, I have to accumulate a lot of wealth. And I have to have elixirs. At this critical moment, I have to use some methods that I shouldn't use. Wu Jueqing moved faster and faster, disappearing in front of him like a shooting star, far away. Clouds and mist filled the air and the spiritual energy was like smoke, as if taking shape. Obviously, this was a godly source realm in perfect condition. Moreover, it was a complete godly source realm that had already formed a huge array of heaven and earth. The spiritual energy had already turned purple due to excessive density, indicating that this godly source realm had existed for at least 100,000 years. In fact, it had been even longer. The truth was so. This was the place where the dreamlike veranda, the #1 sect in the Eastern Royal Heaven, was located. The dreamlike mundane world veranda had always been a force to be reckoned with under the heavens, firmly occupying the top spot in the Eastern Royal Heaven sect. The person at the helm of the dreamlike veranda could even speak on equal terms with the East Royal Palace. This showed how powerful the dreamlike veranda was. A group of 100 people flew out of the dreamlike veranda's mountain gate, flying towards the boundless secular world. They have gone to check on the soul-suppressing stone. They will be back soon. A beautiful woman in snow-white clothes said softly, "Don't worry about your uncle, master." In front of her, there was a peerless beauty in blood-red clothes. Although she was still a little young, she was already in the womb of a peerless beauty. She just stood there like that. But she was like a flower bud of peerless beauty, blooming in this misty land. She attracted passionate and admiring gazes from all around. However, no one dared to make the slightest bit of rash action. Everyone knew that this little girl was the personal disciple that the first elder of the sect had just accepted. Her aptitude was so good that it could be said that she was a one-of-a-kind peerless genius in the entire heavenly imperial court. Such a woman was truly a proud daughter of the heavens. Such a proud daughter of heaven was not someone that anyone could match up to. Even the slightest bit of wishful thinking would cause trouble. Just being the first elder of the sect, one would not be able to pass at all. Although she had only been in the sect for half a month, her extraordinary beauty, her unprecedented potential, and her pure and holy temperament. Almost all the male disciples who had seen her before had been conquered by her. Although this little girl had only been in the dreamlike veranda for half a month, she had already snatched the title of the #1 beauty of the dreamlike veranda. She did not even take the initiative to snatch it, but it was recognized by everyone. The older ones all treated her like a pearl, afraid that she would fall in their hands, afraid that she would melt in their mouths. Innate spiritual body. Oh my God! Even the powerful dreamlike veranda had not had such a genius disciple in hundreds of thousands of years. As for those young disciples who were of marriageable age, they were even more infatuated, their souls lingering in their dreams, yearning for her even in their dreams. At the beginning of their meeting, they had already completely bowed down to her red dress. But she did not give any face to anyone. She always had a cold and pretty face, with a faint worry on her face. But the more it was like this, the more it made people's hearts itch. At this moment, this peerless beauty was frowning and frowning. She said softly, "Master, I was wondering if martial aunt could help me find out the whereabouts of Brother Chu Yang." The beautiful woman in white subconsciously rolled her eyes and muttered in her heart, "What is that Brother Chu Yang? He actually made my disciple so infatuated." Fortunately, I was extra careful and specially instructed junior sister not to ask about Chu Yang this time. Even if she accidentally found out, she must not say anything. After all, he is a chick who has just ascended. Maybe he is already dead. It is best if he is dead, so as not to hinder my precious disciple's future. That thing called lust is something that greatly affects the progress of cultivation. Chapter 18:14. The beautiful woman in white sighed in her heart. For a genius like Mo Qingwu, even if her progress was a little slow, it would be a dereliction of duty as her master. Update P. Every time she saw the envious and jealous gazes of her seniors and juniors, the beautiful woman felt a little smug. Who asked you guys to be so unlucky that you couldn't get such a genius disciple? Who can you blame? Wahahaha, Qingwu, let's go back and practice. When we're done, I'll make you something good to eat. Be good, be obedient. The adult and the child walked inside, ignoring the scorching gazes that were interwoven into a heavenly net around them. Coo coo coo. A strange sound suddenly came from Mo Qingwu's pocket. What's in your pocket? It's so strange, the beautiful woman asked curiously. Before she finished speaking, a small pink and snow-white head had already sneakily popped out of Mo Qingwu's pocket, a pair of big round eyes looking around curiously. Wind fox. It's actually a wind fox. The beautiful woman exclaimed softly, her eyes full of disbelief. And it's a mutated and evolved wind fox, really rare. Let me take a closer look. As she spoke, she stretched out her hand, and the wind fox actually floated out of Mo Qingwu's pocket and into the beautiful woman's palm. The wind fox was less than the size of a palm, really cute to the extreme. At this moment, its whole body was restrained, squeaking, pitifully asking Mo Qingwu for help. Good, don't be afraid, be good, my master is just looking at you. Mo Qingwu comforted softly. This is actually your contracted spirit beast. The beautiful woman's eyes were like lightning, full of shock as she looked at Mo Qingwu. Yes, master. What's wrong? Is there a problem? Mo Qingwu asked curiously. What's wrong? How can the heavens care so much for a person? Girl, you're really blessed by the heavens, envied by others. The beautiful woman's face was a little broken. Your aptitude is already so heaven-defying. You actually have a super-level spirit beast with a boundless future. Oh right, what did you feed this wind fox before? The beautiful woman looked around. How did such a super-level change happen? This. It ate a lot of things, one after another, a lot. I don't know what exactly happened. Mo Qingwu said, just the inner cores of spirit beasts alone, he ate no less than 10,000 of them. And he ate, and what else? Let me think. The beautiful woman waited nervously for Mo Qingwu's reply. I remember that it eats mysterious ice jade essence, mysterious young jade essence, heavenly moonlight treasure, jade snow spirit ginseng, ethereal heavenly crystal, mysterious heaven divine marrow, and also spring of life, primordial purple vapor, heaven nourishing jade. There are simply too many, and there are still many that I can't remember clearly. Mo Qingwu fiddled with her fingers. That's right. He even ate 2 pieces of souls of the purple crystal. Mo Qingwu spat out word by word. The beautiful woman's eyes grew bigger and bigger, and her face grew paler and paler. She looked like she was about to faint. Her delicate body was on the verge of collapsing. Oh heavens! Oh, the earth! Oh gods, listen to this. What did this little girl feed this wind fox? There were so many good things. Even in the Heaven Imperial Court, they were the best things that only existed in legends and could only be found by chance. She actually fed them to her pet? My goodness, Qingwu, you fed all these things to this little beast. The beautiful woman almost fainted. Yes. What's wrong? I think this little fellow likes these things quite a lot. He's not picky at all. Mo Qingwu blinked innocently. What's wrong? Not picky. The beautiful woman wanted to cry. She really wanted to cry. I'm not picky either. Why didn't you give me those things? Sigh. Since it's already like this, there's no point in pursuing this any further. Little girl, let me tell you. With those things as a foundation, this little fellow will definitely become a divine beast in the future, or even higher. The beautiful woman sighed speechlessly. There was something else that she was too embarrassed to say. But if these things are used on you, your achievements will be even higher, and you'll be able to look down on everyone. Holding on to this slim hope, the beautiful woman asked in a trembling voice, then, do you still have these things for yourself? Myself? Mo Qingwu was somewhat disdainful. She said, of course I have them. What's wrong with Master today? Why does she seem to have gone silly? I'm already rich enough to feed these things to spirit beasts. How can I not have them? It had to be said that Chu Yang would never treat his Qingwu unfairly. Mo Qingwu had at least one set of all the things that he had mentioned a moment ago. It wasn't much, but it was enough for the little girl's own use. The beautiful woman fainted from happiness. It's right here. Master, do you want to see? Mo Qingwu touched her space ring. Don't. My little grandaunt. The beautiful woman was extremely nervous. She held her back. Come with me. Hurry up. Hurry up. Hurry up. In the end, she couldn't bear it anymore. She simply picked up Mo Qingwu and rushed to the main hall. This matter was no small matter. If this was really the case, with this little brother, our dreamlike veranda would not only be the strongest sect in the Eastern Royal Heavens, but also the strongest sect in the entire Heavenly Imperial Court. This was a matter of great importance. She had to discuss it properly with the sect master and the various elders, in the main hall of the dreamlike veranda. A group of peerless experts looked at the things that Mo Qingwu took out and collectively lost the ability to speak. Looking at the small wind fox jumping around on Mo Qingwu's body, everyone's face revealed sincere envy and jealousy. Such a good thing is only given to this little bastard. Why didn't we meet? This matter is the top secret of our sect. Nothing can be leaked. The sect master made a prompt decision. Junior sister, These things, of course, should be used by Qingwu. Don't waste them. As he said this, he pondered for a moment. Yes. The beautiful woman agreed loudly. Yes, junior sister, this little brother. Cough cough, this, your place is a little remote. Why don't you give it to me? I can give her a better environment and treatment. The sect master said somewhat embarrassedly. Everyone in the main hall stared at the sect master with disdainful eyes. They had never seen such a shameless person. On the day of accepting a disciple, you snatched it once, and now you're snatching it again. As expected of the sect master, the thickness of his skin is really beyond our reach. But no matter how shameless you are, it's useless. If it could be snatched, would it be your turn? Didn't you see that junior sister even rejected the elder ancestor? No. This matter is not negotiable. The beautiful woman resolutely rejected with a strong sense of righteousness. Don't even think about it. With Mo Qingwu in her arms, she left with a whoosh. The sect master touched his nose and smiled bitterly. His expression didn't change. As expected of the sect master, who wouldn't want such a disciple who would bring glory to the sect, this was also human nature. The group of old guys stood up one by one, looked at the sect master with disdain again, and left. But once they went out and returned to their exclusive small enclosed space where no one could see, this group of old guys suddenly lost their composure. They jumped and sighed. Just now, they were just envious and jealous. Now, they were a little hateful. It wasn't that they hated Mo Qingwu, but they hated themselves. Why didn't they persevere a little more back then? If they had persevered a little more, this disciple might have been theirs. With such a disciple, losing a little face was nothing. We're rich. Our dreamlike mortal pavilion is definitely going to be rich. Sigh. Why didn't I be the first to meet such a good seedling? It really benefited Old Seven for nothing. I really regret it. Old Seven's mission should have been me, but I was too lazy to move, so I let her go. In the end, I came back with a hot pancake and picked up the #1 genius of the Heaven Imperial Court. Why was I so lazy? I really regret it to death. Bang, 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 bang. Old Seven is really lucky. Such a good seedling was picked up by her. Sigh. Master, I request to see you. I have something important to ask for your help. Her direct disciple requested to see her. Come in. Yes, Master. I have something to ask for your help. What is it? I'm not young anymore. I've reached the age of marriage. Men should get married when they are of age. This is human nature. It's not strange. Our sect doesn't forbid marriage. There's no need to be like this. Thank you, Master. I have taken a fancy to a junior sister. I would like to ask for your help. Well, this is a good thing. Tell me, who do you like? Master will naturally uphold justice for you. Yes, thank you, Master. He excitedly raised his head. Master, I have taken a fancy to junior sister Qingwu who has just arrived at the sect. Please help me. Before he could finish speaking, get out. Get out. She was furious and couldn't restrain her anger. Is Qingwu someone you can covet? Who do you think you are? Get out quickly. If you dare to have these crooked thoughts again, I will break your legs. Get out. Get out. Similar scenes were playing out in almost every qualified elder's place. Some of them had many direct disciples, and they received several requests in a day. In desperation, they simply gathered all the disciples, and scolded all the disciples. Then, the group of old guys went into seclusion. At this point, even if Mo Qingwu agreed, these old guys wouldn't agree. Mo Qingwu was now the #1 treasure of the dreamlike world pavilion. Before she grew up, no one dared to mention marriage. It was as serious as digging up the ancestral grave of the dreamlike world pavilion. These movements weren't small, but they were insignificant in the context of the entire continent. To be more precise, they were completely silent. It was just a small wave that didn't attract attention. However, no one would have thought that an organization by the name of Heavenly Armament Pavilion would quietly rise up in this situation where the various tyrants had already divided their territories. No one would have thought that such a small organization would turn the entire Heavenly Imperial Court upside down in the next few years. Chapter 1815. Dreamlike Veranda. Baidu search PCOM. Mo Qingwu practiced quietly, but there was a smile on her lips. Yes, Master, Chu Yang's cultivation speed is faster than mine. Yes, Master, I only have a pure yin body here, so I have everything I need. These treasures were all given to me by a mysterious expert, but the few pieces of pure yang were consumed by Chu Yang. Mo Qingwu believed that these words of hers would have a strong impact on her master, Dreamlike Veranda. Dreamlike Veranda did not forbid marriage. However, with her aptitude, she had become a treasure. The sect would definitely not allow a disciple with such aptitude to marry out easily. But everything could only be maximized when yin and yang were in harmony. Although Mo Qingwu took out a lot of treasures, there was only a little bit of mysterious yang jade essence of pure yang. It was far from being able to achieve the harmony of yin and yang in the body and the harmony between heaven and earth. Although her aptitude was fast enough, far faster than half of the people, if she could get more pure yang treasures, her speed would increase even more. And the treasures that were a perfect match were with Chu Yang. And Mo Qingwu emphasized that Chu Yang had already consumed them. In this way, as long as she encountered a bottleneck or any obstacles in her progress, she would need Chu Yang's help. Therefore, Dreamlike Veranda would not hurt Chu Yang no matter what, and would only look for him. She could feel that after she said these words, her master's expression was ugly and conflicted. Mo Qingwu, of course, did not care about this. She had achieved her goal, so she went to practice. Ever since Mo Qingwu came to the Heavenly Imperial Court, after wandering for less than a month, she had a conflict with a local gang. After killing many people in the gang, Mo Qingwu fled. On the way, she met her master. The beautiful woman in white saw a group of big men chasing a little girl. She instinctively helped. After killing the group, she found that this little girl was really cute. After some contact, she was even more shocked to find that this little girl actually had a rare innate spirit body. She could not move her feet at once. She wanted Mo Qingwu to acknowledge her as her master. But Mo Qingwu already had a master. How could he agree? The two sides had been entangled for a long time. The beautiful woman in white had made concessions time and time again. In the end, she had even made a decision to give Ning Tianya and Bu Liu Qing the position of guest elders of the Dreamlike Mortal Worlds Pavilion. They would be of the same generation as them. Moreover, she had also made a concession to become Mo Qingwu's third master. Mo Qingwu reluctantly nodded. At this point, Mo Qingwu had no choice but to nod. The cultivation of this beautiful woman in white is terrifyingly high. Even if she wanted to escape, she couldn't. It was only after arriving at the dreamlike secular pavilion that Mo Qingwu realized that she had arrived. It was actually the #1 sect in the Eastern Royal Heaven, Jiangnan. In an elegant courtyard. Auntie, I'm a little discouraged now. I really feel a little inferior. A handsome young man stood beside a beautiful woman. His face was filled with a bitter smile of defeat. The beautiful woman also smiled bitterly. In the courtyard, an aura of a breakthrough was rising. It was spreading out. Zi Sheqing is really an anomaly in the entire demon clan. Her original strength was already extremely high, but because of her injuries, she didn't fully recover. And because of her body refinement, her cultivation fell greatly, but she didn't lose her realm. So it's not surprising that her cultivation speed is a little faster. This sentence. Even she didn't believe it herself. She was purely comforting her nephew. It could be considered a white lie. This handsome young man was naturally the demon clan's tie. Ever since Zi Sheqing came here, this guy who admired Zi Sheqing shamelessly stayed here. Even if he couldn't get close to her, it was good to see her often. Didn't they say that love grows with time? I'll keep staying here. I don't believe that I can't melt the iceberg. But as time passed, he became less and less confident. So there was a saying in this world that there was an eternally frozen iceberg. Auntie, you don't have to comfort me. The demon clan's tie looked miserable. When she first came here, she was only at the earth level. In less than a month, she broke through to the heaven level. In less than half a month, she broke through to the heaven level. In 3 months, she broke through to the saint level. Half a year later, She reached the peak of the saint level. Now, she's already breaking through to the heavenly level. The demon clan's Tai felt like he was going crazy. Even if she's just recovering her original cultivation, this speed is unprecedented in the heavenly imperial court. Is this something that can be compared with human strength? And I remember clearly that when she injured me 10,000 years ago, she was definitely only at the saint level. The demon clan's Tai looked pale. Now, she's already broken through to the heavenly level. How is this possible? How is this possible? The beautiful woman in white could only sigh. Sigh, I don't know what to say either. Let's see if your devotion can move her. But based on the current situation, it's not very likely. Of course, this is only my personal opinion. It was indeed her personal opinion. In other people's eyes, it was not only not very likely, it was simply impossible. The demon clan's Tai, who knew his situation, lowered his head sadly. In his extreme dejection, even a tail under his robe drooped down, dragging it back and forth on the ground. It's so difficult. Auntie, why is it so difficult to pursue a woman? The beautiful woman in white rolled her eyes at him and said, if it's not difficult, then you won't cherish her after you get her, right? You're right. The demon clan's Tai's fighting spirit rose again. I'll definitely move her. Sincerity can move metal and stone, definitely. Okay, then I hope you can move her soon. The beautiful woman in white smiled and said, but you should also cultivate to catch up with her. Are you going to be beaten by your wife every day when you get married in the future? Thinking of this terrible fact, the demon clan's Tai's face turned ugly. He gritted his teeth and said, okay. From now on, I'll cultivate as hard as I can. That's a good boy. It was chaos outside. But at this moment, Chu Yang was leisurely in the Chu clan's courtyard. Since the storm had already started, Chu Yang didn't need to worry anymore. Now, the storm was still rushing over from far away. Naturally, Chu Yang was even more relieved. In fact, this instigator even improvised a poem on the spot. Unintentional celestial man's wrath, a fart blasts directly. Heroes from all walks of life come, the wind is like a dragon. The cloud is like a tiger. Everything has nothing to do with me, I only want to embrace the beauty. Let the wind and waves hit me, I'll walk leisurely. It was said that this poem was accidentally heard by the wives of a few brothers. All of them laughed until their stomachs hurt. Chu Yang and Tai Butian strolled in the courtyard and came to the courtyard. Now, in the courtyard, there was a group of little guys chasing and playing. In the distance, there were people of similar ages running and practicing martial arts. There wasn't any pattern to it, just pure physical exercise. Xie Danqiong's wife, Madame Mai, was carefully looking after them with some people. She was afraid that someone would get hurt. It had to be said that Madame Mai was full of gentle motherly nature. To children, she was the most intimate. This was also the so-called affinity. In addition, Madame Mai was extremely patient. She also liked every one of these little guys very much. Therefore, everyone was also willing to be close to her. It was unknown who shouted, "Big Brother Chu, the patriarch is here." Immediately, a group of little guys swarmed over. Their eyes were full of passion. Their faces were full of admiration. "Big Brother Chu Yang, Clan Master, you're here, you're finally here, I missed you so much, when are you going to teach us martial arts? I want to become a heavenly soldier." Me too, me too. Hehe, just thinking about it makes me feel impressive. Heavenly soldier, ha ha ha. TSK, only you, I'm still the strongest. The little guys were in a mess. Chu Yang smiled from the bottom of his heart. After playing with this group of little guys for a long time, he didn't show the slightest bit of impatience. Tai Butian was especially touched. Who said that emperors were heartless? Although she had only been separated from her son for more than a month, Tai Butian had been in her heart for a very, very long time. The moment she saw so many little guys who were about the same age as her, at most 3 or 4 years older, her eyes couldn't help but turn red. She squatted down and comforted them gently, hugging them one by one. Her actions were gentle, as if she was hugging her son. A mother would be worried about a son traveling 1,000 miles, and a mother would be worried about a son traveling 1,000 miles. Although Tai Butian was a qualified ruler, she was also a loving mother at the same time. Seeing this, Chu Yang couldn't help but sigh inwardly. That little bastard, not only did he usurp the throne, he even chased his parents away early on. Little heartless, I'll spank you when we're old. When Minister Chu was thinking this, he had completely forgotten that he was also involved in all these. Furthermore, he was the mastermind and accomplice. To a large extent, he was the one who instigated the little Chu Yang. Chu Yang took a step forward and gently held Tai Butian's arm. He said softly, "Don't worry, there's a monster over there, one who's even more of a monster than me. If he wants to come up, I'm afraid he can come up at any time. It's just that he hasn't completed what he wants to do yet. Once he's done, he can come over at any time." Really? Tai Butian's eyes were a little teary. At this moment, she was even a little weak. The ruler at this moment was actually a mother who missed her son who was far away. No matter how much power she wielded, no matter how much of a ruler she was, at this moment, she was just a mother who missed her son. Really, Chu Yang said very firmly, even with a tone of certainty. Tai Butian looked at these children enviously. She said, "How good would it be if they were always by our side?" Chu Yang sighed softly. "You also know that our children, if they were really always by our side, it would instead be difficult for them to grow up. Only an environment without restrictions can allow them to grow up best." Tai Butian sighed softly, but she also agreed with Chu Yang's words. Tai Butian was a qualified ruler, but she was definitely not a strict teacher. She was simply too kind and amiable toward her own children. Since ancient times, loving mothers tended to spoil their children. Although every mother couldn't wait to hold their children in their arms for the rest of their lives, for the sake of their children's future, they still had to be ruthless and let go, allowing their children to fly alone, to gain experience and have their own lives. The gentleness in Tai Butian's eyes at this moment quickly conquered the children. Chapter 18:16. Children's hearts were the most sensitive. They could sense who was good to them. This was something that couldn't be faked. All of them gathered around her, their faces full of concern and admiration. From Tai Butian, they could truly feel the aura of a mother. "Children." With tears in her eyes, Tai Butian smiled and said, "All of you must be well." There was complete silence. Some of the orphans who didn't have parents since they were young even had red eyes. "Don't call her auntie. This is your sister-in-law, my wife." Chu Yang smiled and introduced her loudly. "If you have any problems in the future, just look for her. Remember." "Okay." All the children shouted loudly. "Sister-in-law is so beautiful." A 10-year-old girl looked at Tai Butian in a daze and murmured, "The mother in my dreams is just like this." Tai Butian was playing with the children. Chu Yang quietly called Madam Mai to one side. "Sister-in-law, have you calculated the things that I asked you to?" "Yes, the statistics are out. We have 5,475 children, but less than 1,000 of them have names. The rest of the younger ones may have names, but most of them have already been forgotten. In this way, there is no way to continue investigating." Madam Mai looked at these children and sighed with some heartache. This detestable world has caused so many people to die. No matter whether they deserved it or died innocently, what did these children do to deserve it? They have to bear the suffering of the world at such a young age. The heavens are heartless. Chu Yang was silent for a long time. Then, he said, "There is really no other way. Life is the world of martial arts. The world of martial arts has been full of killing, fighting and competition since ancient times. Death is something that is destined to be unavoidable." Madam Mai sighed deeply and said, "Fortunately, there are people like you. Only these children can change their fate." Chu Yang was silent for a while. Then, he said, "I can only manage a very, very small portion. Most of the time, I can't do anything. I'm not that great, really." Madam Mai sighed deeply. "For those who don't have names, let's name them according to the surname Chu." Chu Yang said softly, "Let's use wind, rain, thunder, lightning, fog, snow, frost, sun, moon, stars, mountains, rivers, lakes and seas, spring, summer, autumn and winter. Plum blossom, orchid, bamboo, chrysanthemum. There are too many people. Even if we use all the commonly used words, I'm afraid it won't be enough. Madam, I frowned. Chu Yang said, this is easy to handle. We can name Chu Xingyun, Chu Qingyun, Chu Baiyun, Chu Ziyun, Chu Moyun, and so on. When he ran out of words, he would switch to another one. Also, separate the boys from the girls. Girls should be more gentle. That's good. Madam Mai's eyes lit up as she said, if that's the case, the naming of 100 people wouldn't be messed up, yes. Chu Yang nodded. Take note of one thing. During this period of time, you will be choosing names at home. Everyone needs to be familiar with their new names. Remember your status in the Heavenly Armament Pavilion. No one is allowed to leave. You are not allowed to go to the front yard or the backyard. All right. The most important point. He had to keep up with their diet. The children's bodies had almost recovered and could tolerate a certain amount of meat. There was no harm in getting more. And that soup. Everyone must drink it. All right. Be careful, no one is allowed to go out. This matter is very important. Especially important. Chu Yang emphasized this issue once again. Although Madam Mai didn't understand, she still carried it out strictly. Chu Yang raised his head and sighed softly. There wasn't much time left. His heart couldn't help but surge with endless reluctance. I've already laid out the foundation for all of you. It's up to you now. Chu Yang murmured softly to himself, I hope that all of you will work hard and create your own future. For yourselves and for the Heavenly Armament Pavilion. That night, Tai Butian snuggled in Chu Yang's arms, frowning slightly as if there was something she didn't understand. What's wrong? It's a little strange. Tai Butian said, our children are much younger than some of them, but I keep having the feeling that our children are smarter than them, and much smarter. Chu Yang sweated a little. Was there a need to say it? Even though these children had already been transformed by Chu Yang, and their aptitudes were all heaven-sent geniuses, but compared to little Tai Yang, that kind of monstrous genius, they were still lacking by quite a bit. Just comparing their willpower alone, the difference was like heaven and earth. If they really had to compare, even Mo Qingwu's innate spirit body couldn't be compared to little Tai Yang, much less these children's natural talents that were modified through heavenly treasures. It's very late. Go to sleep. Chu Yang raised his eyebrows and gave Tai Butian a meaningful smile. Your Majesty, I'll serve you. His hands had already split into two and went into the mountains and valleys respectively. Tai Butian's face and ears turned red at once. Under the assault of that pair of demonic hands, she panted heavily and said with a flushed face, you, do whatever you want. But you mustn't do those weird positions again. It's really so embarrassing. Chu Yang's heart instantly burned. He said, what kind of positions exactly? If your Majesty doesn't tell me clearly, how would I know? She couldn't help but be aroused by this sentence. Just as she was about to get on the horse and her sword was about to reach, suddenly, strange noises came from outside. At this critical moment, a night walker had come. A faint murderous aura seeped in through the window. An assassin had actually come. Chu Yang was in high spirits when he suddenly encountered such a thing. How could he not fly into a rage? His head was filled with anger, and it directly burned to the heavens. Previously, Chu Yang had fantasized that if someone came to assassinate him, he would capture the assassin. Then, he would use both the carrot and the stick, as well as poison. Perhaps, he could even subdue a few experts. In front of others, his strength was at the Earth grade level, and he also had the battle record of killing 2 Earth grade experts of the same level. Then, the person who came to assassinate him was at least stronger than himself and the 2 Earth grade experts of the Li family. Perhaps it was a high-level Earth grade, or perhaps it was the peak of Earth grade. It was also possible for them to be infinitely close to Heaven stage, and such people were not a threat to him at all. If he could subdue another wave, then 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 another wave. Of course. This was just his imagination. How could such a situation happen in reality? And now, his imagination had finally come true. Finally, someone had come to assassinate him. However, Chu Yang had completely forgotten his original plan. The only thought in Chu Yang's mind now was to kill. Originally, no matter when the assassin came, Minister Chu wouldn't be so angry. But now, at this moment, just as he was about to start serving the Empress, at this critical moment, he came. Minister Chu roared angrily. With his back bare, he only had time to put on a pair of large underpants and rushed out. The long spear was straight. It could be vaguely seen. Tai Butian's face flushed red at the sight of this. She only had time to say, "Put on your clothes," but Chu Yang had already disappeared. He didn't care if the autumn light had already appeared. A magnificent sword light. Out through the window. Outside, 3 uninvited guests were standing in the courtyard, looking around with their arms crossed. One of them was indifferent. He said very gracefully, "Divine Dr. Chu, we 3 brothers have come to visit you in the middle of the night. Please come out to meet us." Before he finished his words, a ghastly sword light appeared. Divine Dr. Chu, with his back bare, had already appeared in front of them. His pair of hairy legs were bare. His face was full of murderous intent. "Divine Dr. Chu, haha, please forgive us. We're just following orders. We need to borrow your head." This person was a heaven-level expert, so he naturally did not take someone who had just broken through to Earth level seriously. He put his hands behind his back and spoke in a very pretentious manner, as if everything was under his control. However, before he could finish his sentence, the dense sword light had already arrived in front of him with the speed of lightning. The heaven-level expert didn't expect Divine Dr. Chu to be so straightforward. He didn't even ask any questions and directly attacked. "We're heaven-level experts. We're much better than you, a mere Earth-level beginner. After being ordered to take our lives, we should at most run for our lives, not to mention kneeling on the ground and begging for mercy. How can you take the initiative to attack first?" For a moment, the 3 of them were even a little confused. Are we here to assassinate Divine Dr. Chu? Or is Divine Dr. Chu here to ambush the 3 of us? We still want to talk first. Why did the one who's about to be assassinated attack us without saying anything? Does he feel that he's not dying fast enough and even gave up the chance to live a little longer? He flashed and floated to one side. "Wait." As the sword light landed, Chu Yang frowned and said, "Is there anything else?" His tone was full of impatience. This was definitely nonsense. Anyone who was interrupted for no reason would definitely be annoyed. The 3 of them were speechless. Even if there's nothing else, you don't have to be so straightforward, right? Aren't you curious? What are we 3 experts here for? Who sent us here? Besides, you're just an Earth-level expert. Are you a match for us 3 experts? Divine Dr. Chu is indeed extraordinary. The heaven-level expert laughed and said, "But I'm very curious. Are you not curious about our arrival at all? Or is our arrival within your expectations? Only ghosts would know that you're coming." "Well, what are you here for?" Chu Yang asked smoothly. "To kill you," this person said in a threatening and oppressive manner. "Or, if you want to kill me, why aren't you doing it? Are you planning to kill me with your mouth?" Chu Yang scolded, "I thought that you're here for a chat. I'm not interested in chatting with you in the middle of the night. Do you know that you 3 bastards have spoiled my plans?" The 3 of them were petrified. Is it really true that the ignorant are fearless? Or is this Divine Dr. Chu simply a fool who doesn't know anything? He's already at death's door, but he still dares to be so arrogant. "I've caught a cold. Fever, 38.5 degrees. My nose hasn't breathed for a day and a night. My head hurts from breathing through my mouth. I've been drinking water for a day, but my throat still hurts terribly." Chapter 18:17. Impudent. The other Earth-grade expert finally couldn't help but scold him. "It's one thing for us to kill you, but you're just an Earth-grade beginner. You can't be so arrogant. Even if you're in a hurry to reincarnate, you can't be so impatient. Impudent your grandma." Chu Yang scolded and didn't waste any more words. His calamity sword flashed in the air and he shouted, 10,000 feet of cold light. This move had once killed more than 10 experts of the Li family in one strike. Its power was immense and unstoppable. 2 of the 3 were present at that time and naturally knew the pros and cons of this move. They said at the same time, "Be careful." The 3 leaped up at the same time and attacked. Since this guy was so untactful, it was better to kill him as soon as possible. Do you think that just because you can kill some ants, you'll be successful in every endeavor? We're all great experts who are far above you. However, Chu Yang wasn't an unwise person. How could he make the mistake of using the same move again? Although he said 10,000 feet of cold light, in reality, he used the 4 moves of the Calamity Sword's sword point at the same time. A sharp sonic boom rang out, and everyone's eardrums were filled with the sound of sword chi whistling through the air, as though they were about to explode. The 3 were instantly drowned by the sword aura. Break. The heaven-grade expert was full of confidence. He felt that with his heaven-grade ability, how could it not be easy to deal with a small earth-grade beginner? Holding the long sword in his hand, he directly chopped down. He wanted to bully the weak with his strength and forcefully break the move. In the blink of an eye, a tyrannical cyan sword chi rushed straight towards the sword chi that Chu Yang had emitted. He was very confident that this sword move would disperse the sword energy that had filled the sky in an instant. Moreover, it would cut Chu Yang into 2 halves. So he let the other 2 take action. To deal with such a junior, Chu Yang could easily take him down. It was like using a butcher's knife to kill a chicken. How could there be any accidents? However, the final result of that sword strike shocked him greatly. Chu Yang's sword aura was split apart as he expected. But, at the same time, the long sword in his hand cracked into 4 or 5 pieces. This was a godly weapon that had accompanied the ZJ for many years. If he hadn't retracted his hand fast enough, even the arm holding the sword would have been turned into minced meat. The strength of a heaven stage expert was high, but that didn't mean he was invulnerable to 10,000 weapons. If he were to encounter a true godly weapon, he would still be injured and die. Then, the sword chi that had just been dispersed. Instead of dispersing, they gathered together again and descended with great power. A moment of carelessness and underestimation of the enemy had actually caused him to fall into a dangerous situation. However, a heaven stage expert was a heaven stage expert after all. After coming to his senses, he quickly adapted. He immediately circulated his entire body's cultivation, and a layer of faint blue light flickered. Like the rising tide of the sea, it surged out crazily, counterattacking with all its might. Although Chu Yang's sword light had enveloped everything around it and seemed to be unstoppable, when it came into contact with this blue light, it was as if the sword had slashed into the ocean. Furthermore, the seawater was unusually viscous. Every time he chopped down, he would chop down. Both consumed a certain amount of strength and speed. And in this SHJA with Macron N, the other party had already calmly dodged. In an instant, more than 300 slashes. With a hua sound, the Tian-grade expert leapt backwards. At the same time, the Tian-grade expert leapt backwards. Chu Yang retreated with his sword. Chu Yang had consecutively chopped out 350 slashes. Only the last 30 slashes were barely effective, tearing the other party's clothes into pieces. However, in reality, there wasn't a single wound on the other party's body. This was also when the heaven stage expert's protective Shen technique gradually couldn't keep up with the rate of consumption. In shock, he managed to escape. And this moment happened to be the last moment when Chu Yang had used up all 4 sword moves. Under the opponent's viscous protective Shen technique, most of the true essence that he had used previously had been consumed. If he could barely hold on, he would fall into a state of decline. At the same time, he also retreated. If I don't retreat, my cultivation won't be able to keep up with the consumption, and I will die under this sword. That heaven stage expert panted, his eyes filled with shock. If I don't retreat, my cultivation won't be able to keep up with the consumption, and I will definitely die under his hand. Chu Yang panted slightly, absorbing energy from the tribulation space with all his might to recover. His heart was filled with inexplicable shock. A heaven stage expert indeed lived up to his name. This was the first time that Chu Yang had truly fought with a heaven stage expert. Although the other party had always been at a disadvantage, and even had no room to fight back, Chu Yong knew that this was caused by the other party's carelessness and underestimation of him. The moment he came up, his sword was broken, and he was completely forced into a passive state. If the other party really went all out with Zheng would probably be the one to lose. Chu Yong took in a deep breath. When I was in the Heaven Stage continent, I could kill a second-grade Supreme Martial Artist and fight a third-grade Supreme Martial Artist with a first-grade Supreme Martial Artist cultivation. But here, I'm actually not a match for a Heaven Stage expert with a cultivation close to the Earth Stage. This difference was almost several times that of the Heaven Stage continent. If it was purely based on cultivation, the difference was probably more than 4 times. This difference was almost several times the difference between the Heaven Stage Imperial Court and the Heaven Stage continent. It wasn't just the difference between Earth Stage and Heaven Stage. This person was only a Heaven Stage expert. If Heaven Stage was compared to Heaven Stage experts, what was the difference? Compared to Saint Stage experts? Chu Yong's heart became more and more cautious. Heaven Stage Imperial Court was indeed not an ordinary place. Little, you're indeed not bad. You do have some capital to be arrogant. That Heaven Stage expert finally caught his breath. His eyes shone with blue light. The other party's swordsmanship was indeed strange and sharp to the extreme. If it wasn't for Zheng's high cultivation, sufficient protective energy and the explosive potential of his life force, he would have been turned into minced meat just now if he didn't handle it properly. A novice who had just broken through to the Earth Stage could already force Zheng into such a state. To this Heaven Stage expert, this was simply a great humiliation. Chu Yong took in a deep breath and made a decision at this moment. Yonghua's divine sense, Chu Yang, Yang Russian, and Shifty Cat had all arrived at this moment. They were watching the battle in the dark. But Chu Yang didn't want them to make a move. This is Jinji's battle. Although the opponent is a Heaven Stage master, which is beyond Jinji's ability to deal with on the surface, I must kill him today. Relying on others was considered a shitty ability. Why couldn't an Earth Stage expert be a Heaven Stage expert? Others couldn't. It didn't mean that I, Chu Yang, couldn't. The Calamity Sword Master had always been a legendary existence. Today would be the beginning of the legend of the Calamity Sword Master. Chu Yang raised his head and said coldly, "Since you've already said that you're here to kill me, stop spouting nonsense. All of you can come at me together." He stood with his sword in hand, his eyes filled with disdain. "All of you can come at me together." These 4 words, facing 3 experts who were much stronger than Zheng. He actually said it with such confidence and power. While the 3 of them were stunned, Chu Yang's sword flashed. He actually took the lead to attack again. As the sword flashed, the radiance of the flowers became more and more obvious. It actually engulfed all 3 of them at once. This was extreme contempt from beginning to end. This made the Heaven Stage expert so angry that his chest almost exploded. He spread his hands outwards and shouted, "No one is allowed to make a move. I want to kill him alone." Facing an Earth Stage beginner, Zheng, who was a Heaven Stage expert, had to join forces with others to attack him. If word got out, Zheng wouldn't be able to stay in the martial world anymore. He really couldn't afford to lose face like that. But at this moment, Chu Yang's sword momentum suddenly changed. The move just now. It was the sword spikes move. Light like a dream, floating in the air. Enchanting like a sea of blood and a mountain of bones. It highlighted a light, dancing enchanting move. The power of the sword was full of nimbleness and grace, but it was intricate and flawless. But at this moment, there was a sudden change. The temperament changed sharply, turning into 2 tyrannical sword moves full of murderous intent. Like 2 bolts of lightning, it lit up the night sky. It made everyone who saw it blind at this moment. Just now, it was the sword spike's famous move. Now, it was the sword edge's move. Howling wind and clouds from the west to the east and sun and moon as my thunder general, the 2 moves were released at the same time. It was obviously one person attacking, but the 2 sword lights went forward side by side. There was no distinction between the master and the follower, arriving at the same time. The fleeting snow cloud movement technique under his feet circled around like a ghost, bypassing the heaven-grade expert who was on full alert. This guy spoke beautifully, but in reality, he did not dare to be careless at all. He closed in step by step, but Chu Yang, who was unprepared, easily broke through and bypassed him. The real target of these two moves was the other two people. The other two Earth-grade experts. A heaven-grade expert's true strength was far above Chu Yang's, and could not be easily dealt with in one or two moves. However, the other two were only Earth-grade experts. Although they were still above Chu Yang, they were still within Chu Yang's range of killing. Since they were here, none of them should leave. Easy at first, difficult at last. After dealing with the variables that could affect this battle, it would be safer to focus on dealing with the heaven-grade expert. Brilliant. What a brilliant battle tactic. Yang Russian could not help but sigh. The change in this move was definitely out of everyone's expectations. It contained the will to anticipate the enemy's moves, and the ingenious sword shield. A sentence of mockery, intentionally or unintentionally, pierced through the hearts of the people. It caused the three of them to take the initiative to separate and face him alone. As for the other two, they were not affected at all. Their vigilance revealed a flaw. But although the heaven-grade expert said that he would face them alone, the previous 4 moves made him tremble in fear. Then, he saw a shocking move that he had never seen before. Naturally, he chose to defend wholeheartedly. Since he was wholeheartedly defending, he naturally lacked the ability to counterattack. And Chu Yang took advantage of this subtle change in mentality to kill the other two. Good strategy. Fish's eyes widened. But I'm afraid he will have to fight with his life on the line this time. Yang Russian said, that's right. Other than fighting with his life on the line, there's no other way for him to kill the other two. Moreover, he only had this one chance. If he doesn't succeed this time, we will have to make our move. At this point, Chu Yang's sword stance had indeed changed. It became eerie and terrifying, like a ghost or a demon. It was completely fighting with his life on the line. He would rather live in seclusion for the rest of his life in exchange for a killing frenzy. Chapter 1818. The sword light was like thunder and lightning, its momentum unparalleled, but it was also strange to the extreme, because the sword light that filled the world a moment ago had all disappeared in an instant. The two Earth-grade experts who were fighting separately and focused on dealing with this tyrannical sword saw this situation and subconsciously thought that he was attacking another person. Just as they heaved a sigh of relief, the thought of dying a friend rather than dying a poor Taoist arose in their minds, but a cold light had already gone straight for the throat of one of them. There was no mercy, no way out. This is from P. And, when the sword light flashed, it actually seemed like no one was controlling it. I would rather hide my whole life in exchange for a killing frenzy in green sky. You thought that I had disappeared, but in fact, I was only hiding temporarily, waiting for an opportunity to unleash the tyrannical sword of green sky. One sword to kill the throat. It was a sure kill strike. The moment the bloodlight flashed, Chu Yang's body retreated rapidly in the void. A palm came diagonally. Chu Yang did not dodge, but borrowed the momentum to retreat. The speed of his retreat was actually as fast as a shooting star across the sky. That heaven-grade expert only used 3 palms in total, and all of them were moves that used offense as defense. Although the moves were sharp, the killing intent was slightly weaker. After Chu Yang's palms, his body had already retreated to 30 feet away from the other Earth-grade expert. Silently, he turned into a ray of light. It looked like he was using his back to hit that Earth-grade expert. A trace of ferocity flashed in that person's eyes. In a flash, he did not have time to use his sword, but used his palms to attack. But at this moment, the sword light flashed again, but it did not seem like it. That person only felt as if his palms were struck by lightning. Immediately, his whole body went numb, and then there was a heart-wrenching pain in his chest. He looked down. He saw a sword hilt, and the sword head had already pierced his sternum. Life and death is the beginning of the sword, only the vicissitudes of life know the silent soul. A complete killing move. Using one's life to take another's life, These were the two most dangerous moves of the Calamity Sword technique. The first move of the sword. These two moves. Using one's body to block the move, extremely dangerous. Once the move was made, life and death would be decided. Chu Yang pinched the sword tip with 2 fingers. The sword body passed under his own ribs. The sword first hit the enemy's palms, and then hit the enemy's chest. His sternum immediately shattered. All the life force of the person who had been struck flowed back into Chu Yang's body through the Calamity Sword. His eyes gradually dimmed, and a burly figure slowly collapsed. On the other side, the other person who was bleeding profusely from his throat suddenly shriveled up and rapidly shrank. When it shrank to a certain extent, there was a thump. He turned into ashes that filled the sky. They were scattered all over the ground. Chu Yang took a deep breath. He endured the pain from the palm strike on his shoulder and back. The vitality and death aura of the 2 experts who had lost their lives surged violently, and the wounds on their shoulders and backs were rapidly healing. The sword light flashed, and Chu Yang turned around. Looking at the heaven rank expert, he said indifferently, "You don't have any helpers. Now, it's just the 2 of us." The heaven stage expert finally couldn't help but reveal deep shock and fear in his eyes. Now that things had come to this, how could he not know that he had been tricked? But he really didn't expect that any one of the 2 Earth stage experts was more than 1 level higher than this divine Dr. Chu in front of him. A few days ago, when Chu Yang had a breakthrough, he was right in front of him, and felt that he knew Chu Yang's depth very well. But, how could those 2 people be killed so easily? And because he was worried about the sharpness of Chu Yang's divine sword, he didn't dare to go too far, and only used the means of attack as a form of defense. This just happened to give Chu Yang an opportunity. He actually indirectly helped the enemy to kill 2 of his companions instantly. He was very clear that if it wasn't for him, Chu Yang definitely wouldn't be able to kill these 2 people so easily. Because, these 2 people thought that they would be able to resist Chu Yang, and even kill him easily. It was precisely because of this mentality that they let down their guard. Chu Yang relied on his superb body movements, and didn't hesitate to take a palm strike from him, to break through the encirclement from the front, and started to kill them. In other words, it was basically equivalent to Chu Yang and the heaven stage expert working together to kill the other 2. How could this result not make this heaven stage expert explode with anger? "Junior, you're dead for sure." His eyes were spitting fire as he said in a low voice. "I really didn't expect that you would still be so confident without any helpers, to say that I'm dead for sure. Should I call you stupid, or an idiot?" Chu Yang's reply was full of disdain. "Bullshit." This heaven stage expert flew into a rage. He was so angry that he wanted to die. "You're saying that I joined forces to attack you? You clearly saw that I wanted to fight you one-on-one just now. It's because you're cunning and sly that the 2 of them are dead." Chu Yang laughed loudly. "I'm cunning? Why didn't I notice? Since you're so confident that you can kill me by yourself, then why did the 2 of them come? Just to send themselves to death? If that's the case, they've already gotten what they wanted." This heaven stage expert was stunned for a moment, and then he was so angry that he almost went crazy. Yes, he could kill him by himself, so why did he need 3 people to come? Didn't this prove that he wasn't confident? But was he really not confident? This was 4th Master Hua's arrangement. When he thought of this, he became even angrier. Chu Yang immediately added, "What if they didn't come here to die of their own accord? So, you deliberately brought these 2 people here to collect your own corpse? I really couldn't tell that you were so meticulous. You were worried that you would die an unnatural death, so you prepared so thoroughly. You came out to kill, and you even brought companions to collect your corpse. You were so worried because you were afraid that you wouldn't be able to enter your ancestral grave after you died, right? If I knew this, I really shouldn't have killed you just now. I really don't know where your ancestral grave is. Even if I wanted to collect your corpse, I wouldn't be able to send you there. Junior, I'll kill you. I'll definitely kill you." This heaven stage expert was so angry that his insides were burning. He leaped forward, pushing his cultivation to the limit. A blue light instantly lit up the entire courtyard. But just as he moved, Chu Yang had already launched his fiercest counterattack. Just now, he had used all kinds of sharp words to infuriate the opponent. This moment was naturally the best time for him to strike. If he missed it, he would completely fall into a passive position. After all, there was a great disparity between their actual strength. The calamity sword that had just eaten its fill suddenly shone brightly. It suddenly soared into the air. This time, Chu Yang didn't hold back. Heaven-splitting divine technique and Hong Meng purple vapor were activated together. His dantian was emptied. Calamity sword techniques were all activated in an instant. From one ray of cold light pierces 10,000 fathoms. Until Chu Yang's self-created slaying the world without retracting the blade. A total of 30 sword techniques. Disregarding the consequences and costs, he used all of it at once. If he didn't succeed, he would die trying. Kill. Kill. Merciless killers. Brother Yang, help me protect the courtyard. Bai Yunfei called out in a hurry. This guy actually wanted to get the courtyard at this juncture. He was really outrageous. This caused the already stunned cat teacher to break out in a cold sweat. But Yang Russian had already moved. There was no need to look. Just looking at the momentum just now, Yang Russian knew that this heaven stage expert in front of him was definitely going to die. Not to mention this beginner heaven stage expert in front of him, even he himself would be unable to withstand 30 big moves like this. He would be able to withstand them. But he would definitely be flustered for a while. Of course, he wouldn't be injured with his protective technique. But he definitely wouldn't be able to protect his clothes. Even if he could completely kill Chu Yang in this face-to-face encounter. However, he was bound to lose face. If he had to go through this, what was this beginner heaven stage expert in front of him? So Yang Russian didn't even consider it. He activated his cultivation and instantly protected the courtyard walls, the house, and everything that he could protect. The next moment, he only felt the sword light like wind, snow, rain, and lightning. It came straight at him. General Yang wanted to say damn, but halfway through, he remembered that a brother's wife was in the room. Finally, he stopped himself and swallowed his words. Kai. Yang Russian closed his eyes and endured the sword light. He calculated silently. In that instant, at least 3,000 streaks of sword chi swept across his body, and this was only the sword energy that landed on him. How many of them were scattered around? What a sharp sword technique. What kind of sword technique was this? How could it emit so much sword energy in an instant? He was afraid that his previous judgment was quite wrong. Yang Russian closed his eyes and endured the sword energy with more than 3,000 sword energy. He only felt that there were more than 3,000 alpacas galloping and roaring in his heart. Fuck. This is too fucking domineering. Chu Yang had used up all his trump cards and his energy. His body swayed as he held his sword. After this sword attack, he didn't have any energy left in his body. It was already difficult for him to even stand. Without the support of his sword, he might just collapse to the ground. At this moment, any 3 to 5-year-old child who could wield a weapon would be able to kill him, but the heaven stage expert's body was still glowing with blue light. He stood less than 10 feet away from Chu Yang, his eyes wide open and motionless. After a long while, a thin line of blood slowly appeared on his forehead. It slowly condensed into a crystal-clear blood bead and dripped down from his forehead. Then, his face, hair, chin, nose, eyes, ears, throat, neck, shoulders, and so on. Every part of his body that could be seen by others slowly began to show these thin lines of blood. Then, with a pop sound, a small piece of skin and a bit of hair burst out from the top of his head. A line of blood, from thin to thick, suddenly bulged out. Then, the heaven stage expert's body exploded like a bomb. It scattered all over the ground. As far as the eye could see, the largest piece of flesh was no bigger than a finger. What a sharp sword technique. What a domineering sword technique. What an exaggerated sword technique. Yang Russian grinned. He removed the protection of his cultivation and disappeared in a flash. His guess was right. His clothes were indeed ruined. At this moment, it was important to leave quickly. If a gust of wind happened to come, Then he would have to do something to buy Xian. Chu Yang swayed, and almost fell down. Fishy strolled out in amazement, shaking his head and sighing. Chu Yang's achievements in battle had left him in awe and amazement. You're tuning in to the Celestial War YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.